So, anyways, I don't think that anybody's ever going to say that they're not going to let somebody discover their own faith in Jesus Christ. Like, just because Jesus Christ says that foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. And, you know, it's, I think it's an interesting question, actually, because I remember being a little kid and the different types of people there are. And I guess what we could be talking about is that it could be difficult for this guy to meet women, really. Or we're talking about these conversations, like, in a context where there's people that they're not supposed to be here for that conversation, right? Because there's talking about, like, what it takes, like, to pick up on some chick, like, on the internet, right? And then there's this other guy, and he's got, like, nothing left, because by the time that you start speaking English with some woman, like, this other guy literally disappears. For instance, he just absolutely, he knows he will vanish, because he's talking about a level of maturity that he forgot to believe in, and maybe that is this guy from this European executioner guy, that we get to a certain age and you realize that these tough guys don't have all that experience with women that they think they do, and they still don't have all that experience with women. And why would we be talking about Jesus Christ or something? I'm talking about Jesus Christ because I didn't always talk about Jesus Christ enough, and because nobody really knows who you could be having some kind of an effect on, like just putting stuff out there in the universe, like, at random. And you should really become a musician, I guess, is what I would say. And you should sing songs, because actually, if you become an artist, that's this person where you could see that person's creative soul. This is the soul that we have, in their art, right? And what would you know what I mean? Like, that's probably coming from the artist. The art is coming from the artist, because there's the beauty of the artist. It's coming through, But the musician would probably become a better person by his endeavor, artistic endeavor, because it's not the same experience, If you become a musician, then you might actually get to experience these things that people are talking about when they're talking to each other, and so it might not be the same thing when it comes to art or theater. It might not all just be one type of a thing for everybody, because we're not finished talking about ourselves, talking to other people yet, for instance, and so we're being a big pain in the butt because we're talking about how I do have somebody to talk to, and we're talking about how I don't have somebody to talk to, and that it doesn't even matter who goes crazy, pretty much, and you see what I mean? Because maturity could be happening for anybody. I think that we will be talking about maturity that could take place for anybody, really. And we're assuming that we all have the same things to talk about. We might really actually not have the same things to talk about, but we're making a fool out of me, and we're making a fool out of this guy. You see what I mean? And so, if this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, then it's not doing anybody any good, really. Actually, it just doesn't do anybody any good for me to sit here and tell everybody that I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And it doesn't do me any good to be in this whole thing with some kind of a person that needs to learn how to be afraid of themselves, and none of it does me any good, and none of it does any good for anybody. You know what I mean?